What's going on? This is Fathersondiygarage. My name's Joe.
And my name is Steve. And stay tuned to see how we turn this metal, and that metal over there, into the perfect backyard smoker.
And stay tuned to the end where we show you how many gallons, how much we made it for, and how much we sold it for. All right, we're gonna start this build off by taking our 1-inch square tubing and we're gonna turn that into our base. So we're gonna cut these legs at 27 inches right now. We started off this build by ripping down our 1-inch square tubing with our new Evolution saw. This thing is great if you're ripping down a lot of material like this in the garage. So after that, we beveled all the ends just so we have a little bit of a weld gap to fill in. And then we got right to assembling it. If you guys haven't been here before, this is Father-Son DIY Garage. Me and my dad, we do DIY projects in the garage, doing metalworking, woodworking, and just a bunch of different things around the house. And if you guys could, just give us a subscribe and comment down below, I subscribed. This is going to be holding a lot of weight. These smoker builds are usually a couple 100 pounds. You know, we're estimating this one's probably at least 300-400 pounds. So this thing's got to be strong. All right, I'm putting the last weld on and then going back and then putting a full weld on everything. We've done a couple smoker builds on this channel. Here we got our pizza oven, which was our most recent, and then our ugly drum smoker. And then our very first one we did, our first video on this channel, was our giant smoker build. And that thing just blew up, 127,000 views. And to everyone who watched that, thank you. And hope we keep making good content for you guys. I cut the square tubing right at the top just to match the radius of the tank. You know, kind of a little 45-degree angle there. And just that way it has a nice look once we set the tank on top. Cutting out with the angle grinder. And then I went ahead and put another piece of 1-inch square tubing. It just as a brace, you know. I want this to be nice and strong. After that, I went ahead and smoothed all the edges over. I want this to have a nice finished look. All right, now it's time to put our pipe on top. Here my dad and I are just putting the tank on top just to see how it looks. Looks pretty good. So we got straight into our building of the wheels. For this build, we're custom building all the wheels, all the axles. So this is an 8-inch pipe we're making the wheels out of. And I actually got this off a job site. And we're cutting 3-inch pieces off of this, just cutting them out with the bandsaw. And then we went over to the chop saw and we're cutting out 3-inch pieces of 3-inch flat stock. And this is going to be for all the spokes in our wheels. And the center of the wheel is going to be some 1-inch pipe. You see me cutting all those 3-inch pieces. And then I went ahead and cut out the pieces for the axles. So for our wheels, we have our 8-inch piece of pipe cut at 3 inches. And then we have our 1-inch piece of pipe cut at 3 inches also. That's going to go right in the center. Then we have our 3-inch pieces of flat stock. And they are just going to go as spokes right in there. It's going to look something like this when we're done. But I got to finish welding this one up, so let's get to it. Here we are finishing up the wheels, welding everything together. And man, this took a lot of welding, a lot of time, and a lot of welding rods. We bought 10 pounds of welding rod for this build, and we went through every single rod. Doing the wheels this way instead of doing casters probably cost us about, I would say, a good 4 hours rather than just welding casters straight on. But I mean, you'll see at the end the results, I think, are better than casters would look. So we're happy with it. And here we are just cleaning the wheels up. And then we're going into building the axles. So one of the axles is going to be rotating. So we drilled a hole, and then we have a piece of rod that's going to go right through there. We decided to weld some flat stock on just to beef it up a little bit. You know we thinned out the metal a little bit for cutting a hole, so we like to make sure our builds are nice and strong.
Okay, now we're going to weld this pipe onto the bottom. It's going to act as the axle for the wheels.
So we went ahead and welded this axle on, and it's going to be the one that doesn't move, so it's getting welded straight to the square tubing. Some pretty nice welds there, chipping all the slag off. All right, so we have this axle right here. That one's going to be stationary, so the wheels are just going to be able to go straight. But the next one we're going to do, we drilled this hole out. That way we'll be able to turn this one side to side. So we're going to fabricate that up right now. Now it's time to do our moving axle. So we have this rod welded to our pipe, and that is what's going to go in that hole that we drilled. So now I'm cutting out the rod that's going to hold the wheels. Slide those right in, and then the wheel just go right on top. Welding those wheels on. And then we gave it a test. We ended up welding a little piece on just so we can move it around, and it looks great. Had a little help from the friend here, Martine, in putting our pipe back on top. And then we got into marking out our doors. Once we did that, we went ahead and traced out this pipe, and this is what's going to cap off both of the ends. I did a lot of work on this project by myself just because my dad here is starting up a woodworking business. It's called Manzanita Woodworks, and he's planning on doing this after he retires in the next couple years. So I'm going to leave a link below, and if you guys want to check it out and help support, I'd appreciate it. He makes cutting boards, charcuterie boards, and then he's hoping to move into more projects like furniture building and cabinetry and all that stuff. So yeah, if you guys could check it out, I'd appreciate it. Now that that's cut out, we took it over to the smoker and we tacked it all on, and then put a full welder on the whole entire thing. This is going to be the side that houses the smoke chamber and the smokestack. So you'll see later in the video we're going to cut a hole right through the middle of it just for the smoke to escape. And here we are cutting out our firebox side of the pipe. So welding that on and then giving it a full weld all the way around. Now that those are on, we went into building our smoke chamber. So we did diamond plate steel, and this is going to be 6 inches tall. Ripping that all down with the circular saw, and seemed to work pretty good. Using the circular saw to cut metal like this just leaves a lot of chips flying, so I don't usually like to do it, but it is what it is. And then we started tacking everything together. Really like the way this thing turned out. Tacking all the sides on. Nice little trapezoid type shape. And then we welded the whole thing together. Alright, now it's time to weld the tank on. Before we put the firebox and the smoke chamber on, I decided that it's probably best to weld the tank on. So Here I am putting some full welds in the tank. And then right here I'm marking out our smoke chamber hole, and then we're going to cut that out. I wanted it to be pretty much the size of the smoke chamber, so kind of measured it out, and there it is. We're cutting it out. Time to weld the smoke chamber on. Put a nice full weld all the way around that. The only thing we didn't weld was the bottom, just in case it at the top got left open. We didn't want any rainwater not to be able to escape, so we left the bottom open. And then here we are cutting out our firebox. I believe we cut this at 1.5 feet. And once that was done, we cut out some more end caps for that. You'll see this one, we left a little bit open, just that way it can connect to the tank. And here we are welding on the side that the door is going to be on. Put a full weld all the way around both of these sides. So much welding on this project. Once that was all welded up, we decided to fit it up and see how it looked. And for some reason it wasn't fitting well, just standing on its side, so my dad had the idea of just putting it up vertical, and for some reason it worked out great. So we welded that whole thing on. Went back and put a full weld, and now we're cutting out our... After the smoke chamber and firebox were on, we decided to cut out our hinges for all of our doors on this project. So we got some pipe and then some solid rod. And then we're going to show you guys how we make these into hinges. So we have this pipe welded to our welding table, and then we just put the rod through the pipe and then end up bending it at a 90-degree angle. So here we are, we got 2 hinges right there ready to go. Welded our pipe right onto the tank. And here we are, we're putting a little bit of a curve on those hinges just so our trim for the door makes it under it. You'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. See how there's a little bit of a gap for our trim right there? And then we're just going to slide the trim right under it and weld it to the tank. So before that, we welded our hinges straight to the pipe. Here we are starting out the trim. We just kind of welded it to the top, and then we're just going down grinding the steel. We bend it down and then weld it to the tank. Here we are doing the other side, just grinding a little bit off and then welding the strap. This project took about, we're estimating about 40 hours to build, you know, and that was just working on it kind of on the weekend, and then whenever we got a chance after work. Had to put a little bit of pressure on that one because it was coming off, and just so it's nice and snug to the tank. Went back and put a full weld on everything. And then here's a little handle we made just out of some rod and pipe as well, and that got welded straight to it. All right, now it's time to cut off all of our corner welds. Top. and then we'll see how we did trimming this out. And we grinded off those straps we got on there, and then we revealed the tank. And there it is, the tank is open. So we got the tank open, and now we're going to work on our smokestack and finish that off so we can weld it on. So here's going to be the top cap where we're going to be able to regulate the smoke from. So we cut that little 6-inch circular piece off, and then now we're cutting where our pipe's going to sit, and we're cutting this hole out just so you have a place for smoke to escape. And then the door kept opening all the way back, so we decided to make a little bit of a door stop on the back here. And it seemed to work pretty good. Once that was done, we went into cutting out our door on the firebox, but first we welded on the hinges. Here we are cutting out that little square I have drawn out, and then we're going to trim it out. We have a lot of fun making these videos, so I mean, if you guys want to give us some video ideas, we would love it. See what you guys like to watch, and see what we can improve on. So now that the door is open, we're going to be putting the handle on. So first thing we did was drill a nice hole out of it, and then here we have our latch, and then some hardware we're going to use to put it together. So we have a bolt with a washer and then a nut on the back picking it up. And you'll see I just went ahead and welded the nut right on, just because I don't want this thing to ever come off. And then now we have here our little notch for the latch. Welding on a little handle there out of 1-inch pipe. Then we moved back into working on our smokestack, and that was bending our little contraption for opening the smokestack, and pretty much like a hinge, but except we're going to be bending these in opposite directions. So there we are welding it on. And then my dad here, he wanted to clean up the smokestack before we welded it on. And then we tack welded that thing together. And then we went back and put a full weld all the way around it. After we had the smokestack complete, we went into cutting out our bottom rack. And this is going to be where all of our lumber is going to sit, all of our fuel for the fire. So you'll see me welding it right onto the bottom of the framing. Just put a little tack weld all the way around it. Make sure it's nice and sturdy there. And then once that was done, we went into welding some angle iron inside the tank, and that's going to hold up our grates inside the tank. Put one on each side, and when we had the angle iron all welded to the tank, we went into building our grates. We're going to make 2 grates, and they're going to be able to be removable, and they're pretty much 2 feet by 19 inches. So you'll see me cutting out all the angle iron. That's what we made the framing out of. Tacking all the sides up. Making sure they're nice and square, that way we don't have any issues. And we repeated this process 2 times for both of our racks. This is a pretty decent sized backyard smoker, so you probably fit about, I'd say, 4 briskets on these racks. And then later in the video, we're going to be making another rack for the top. You'll see me here cutting out the expanded steel to fit right inside of that angle iron. And then same thing like the bottom grate, we just tacked it all together. Made sure we tacked it on real nice and sturdy because, you know, it's going to be holding, you know, anywhere from 20 to 50 pounds worth of meat while we're cooking. So made sure to get every side. When we had that all completed, we moved to the bottom of the tank, and here you'll see us welding right on our drain for this tank. It's nice to have one of these, that way you're not pulling all the grease and gunk out with paper towels and all that every time. Here we are drilling a hole in that that solid rod for the axles, and then we're going to put our little handle we made, kind of like a wagon handle pretty much, and that's what's going to pull this smoker around. Here I am giving a little test demo. After all that, we move back into doing the top rack. And this is going to be what's called our rib rack, just because it's real close to the top of the tank. And it's just meant to tuck a couple racks of ribs up under there. Probably fit 2 or 3 in there. And that way, if you're having a lot of people over, you can just, you know, smoke a couple of racks of ribs, and then down below to your brisket and your pork butt and all that good stuff. So we like to use as much space as we possibly can. Same process here. We got the angle iron, 1-inch angle iron, and cut that all up, and then using the square, make sure it's nice and square. Same thing, cutting the expanded steel perfectly to fit. And then welding that on as well. Giving a nice tack every couple inches. And then it was time to test fit it. You'll see it just slides right in there. And it seemed to fit perfectly, so pretty happy with how it turned out. And then after that, we went into our little shelf we're building. We're building a wood shelf for the front of the smoker, just, you know, keeping in your barbecuing tools right on it while you're smoking. So I'm welding 2 1-inch pieces of pipe right onto the tank, and then our rod right here, our tubing, notch that out, and we're going to bend it over so it's at a 90 degree and it's going to sit perfectly. And then my dad threw together this nice looking rack here, and then boom, we slid it right on. Kind of brings the whole smoker together, gives it a nice look. And once we were done with that, we put on our tell-through thermometer, and then it was time to take it to the backyard and give it a test run. If you guys made it this far, make sure you stay till the end where we go over a little walk through the smoker, and then tell you how many gallons and how much it costs to make, so stay tuned. Alright, time to light this smoker up for the first time.
Fired up, oil up the smoker. Just using some olive oil, rub it all over the metal. All right, Joe, give us the beer breakdown.
All right, so we're going to show you some extra features we put on this smoker that we haven't done in the past. So on this smoker, we kind of added a little latch with notches, and that's closed all the way, and then you get to put it in these notches depending on how much airflow that you want for your fire in there. And then another feature we put is this custom built kind of grill rack right here, made out of wood. Weighs about 1.5 inches. Little blocks of wood. What kind of wood?
Alder.
Out of alder wood. And this is actually able to come out and take off just in case you don't want it there. And then right here we have our rib rack that slides out. So just tuck your ribs up under there, and then you can still smoke whatever you want down here. Brisket, pork butt, whatever you got going. All right, and over here we got our smoke chamber out of diamond plate steel, 6-inch smokestack. And then we got our smoke regulator right here, comes all the way off. Perfect height just to be able to change it up real quick. And then on the back here, we've got our door stop right here. This just keeps the door from coming back on us right here. And then down below, we have our little our drain pipe. That way all that grease and fat and all that, you can just drain right out, you know. So, and then obviously we got our little rack here on the bottom. That's where you stack up all your wood that you're going to be smoking with. And then the first part of the project, we have our wheels and axles that were custom built. We went over that earlier in the video. And then over here we have our little wagon pole. And then to top it all off, we got our Tell True thermometer right here.
All right, Joe, so how many gallons is this smoker?
So this smoker, this pipe, 4 feet, 20-inch diameter. It's 65 gallons, and it cost us about $750 to build with everything included. And then it actually sold with 2 days on the marketplace, and it's going to its new home in a few days. Thanks for watching. We had a lot of fun building this one.
Hey, we love working on these projects together. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments. If you want to see more of these builds or something else, just let us know. Thank you. Have a good one.